This week on Unpacked, we won't be unpacking much as there's not a lot of big stories to cover in detail, but we'll be clarifying some confusion around the recent announcement of Reburn and their game La Quimera. Some analysts think GTA 6 is going to cost $100 at release, and a surprising publisher is being resurrected. The developers at Reburn, formerly known as 4A Games Ukraine, have announced La Quimera, a story-driven FPS with optional co-op set in dystopian Latin America. We don't get many high-budget, narrative-driven FPS games these days, so I'm pretty interested in this one. The announcement of the game and rebranding of 4A Games Ukraine led to some confusion about the overall status of 4A Games and the Metro series, as the company has openly stated in the past that they are working on the next big game in the franchise, alongside a new IP. 4A Games has studios in both Ukraine and Malta, where their main HQ was relocated following the beginning of the Russo-Ukrainian War in 2014, when Russia illegally annexed Crimea from Ukraine. However, according to 4A Games, the majority of their development team remains in Ukraine. 4A Games has since clarified the distinction between the studios, albeit still in a slightly confusing way. Essentially, there were two completely separate entities, 4A Games Ukraine and 4A Games Limited. The blog post from 4A Games explains in more detail. In 2014, we, led by the original 4As, the founders of 4A Games, formed 4A Games Limited and created a new HQ in Malta with roughly 50 of our fellow team members. We have since grown and worked to this day on Metro under contract with Deep Silver and PlayOn. Once Metro Exodus and its DLC was released, we created another Kiev studio under 4A Games Limited and welcomed roughly 50 more of our colleagues to continue on with us, while 4A Games Ukraine continued to pursue their own project, La Quimera, as a completely separate entity and recently renamed themselves Reburn. We wish them every success. The 4A games you know and love have not changed, and we are not rebranding. We are the same developers of Metro that brought you Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, Metro Redux, and Metro Exodus. Not a whole lot to unpack in this story, thankfully, and it's really just good news all around. Nobody lost their jobs, there's no ill will between the studios, we're getting a new narrative-driven FPS from the team at Reburn, and 4A Games remains hard at work on the next entry in the Metro franchise, alongside the new IP they're developing. The Metro franchise has been among my favorites for some time now, so I'm eagerly awaiting a look at whatever 4A Games is doing next. There's been a lot of talk over the last year or so about Grand Theft Auto 6 potentially being priced higher than normal video game releases, possibly to the tune of $100, if analysts are to be believed. As previously reported by Video Games Chronicle, analysts as well as some studios and publishers are hoping that GTA 6 is priced higher than normal game releases to set a new precedent in the industry. Obviously, the hope is that higher prices for games would offset increased production costs, or we could just find ways to lower the cost of production for ridiculously expensive video games.
Both is good.
Michael Patcher is the latest analyst to make the claim that GTA 6 might hit that $100 price point by combining the base game with incentives from GTA Online, which is presumably releasing simultaneously, though we haven't heard anything about it just yet. We think the company has plans to sell the game at a previously unheard of price point, and I suspect that management can offer consumers an incentive to pay $100 or more per unit by rewarding them with a large amount of in-game currency to be spent in GTA Online, said Patcher. Patcher indicated that this precedent for combining premium experiences with online experiences, aka free-to-play games, was already set by Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile. Though Call of Duty continues to sell at a base price of $70, Warzone is free-to-play, and I didn't find any bundles between premium Call of Duty and its mobile counterpart, so I'm assuming Patcher's statement is referring to cross-progression between the two games, including Battle Pass progression. Michael Patcher is well known for making some pretty out-there predictions, and I personally think this is another one of those cases. Going from $60 to $70 video game releases wasn't met with a ton of resistance because it was a $10 increase, at least here in the United States. Elsewhere, the cost of video games has gotten pretty ridiculous. If Take-Two charges $100 for the base game of Grand Theft Auto 6, while I'm sure many people will pay it, I'm also sure the online outcry about that $30 price hike would be enormous, and the long-term disdain for Take-Two and any future games they release would be endless. Also, the incentive being literally worthless in-game currency? Come on now. Obviously, this is a whole other topic, but skins in video games costing as much as the game itself is probably the biggest ripoff and scam in the industry that I utterly despise. I mostly cover this news because I think analysts are talking out of their ass about Take-Two wanting to charge $100 out of the gate for GTA 6, but I am curious to hear what you think. I know our audience would definitely be angry about a game costing $100 no matter what it is, but do you think Take-Two will take that gamble? Here's a headline I bet you weren't expecting to hear this week. The video game publisher Acclaim Entertainment has been revived, and is aiming to support independent studios and help bring back classic franchises. This includes titles from Acclaim's own portfolio of IP, though nothing has been named yet, and it'll be interesting to see what those franchises are, considering many were sold off when the publisher first closed its doors in 2004. Warner Bros. Owns Mortal Kombat, EA owns Burnout and NBA Jam, and Turok is owned by Universal Studios, just to name a few. A new Turok game developed by Saber Interactive was just announced a few months ago at the Video Game Awards. Acclaim, the 2025 edition, is being led by CEO Alex Joseph. He previously founded Graffiti Games, which released titles like Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. We actually reviewed and enjoyed that one and its sequel, Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. In addition to Joseph, Acclaim's new advisory board includes Russell Binder at Striker Entertainment, Mark Kaplan at Ridge Partners, and American pro wrestler Jeff Jarrett at Global Force Entertainment. I don't watch much wrestling, but apparently, he's known for smashing people with guitars. Pretty unique skill set to bring to video game publishing, I have to say. Maybe Warner Bros. Should think about hiring him. For more than 3 decades, I've had the privilege to have been a part of both the wrestling and gaming universes, and I'm thrilled to now be a partner in the revival of Acclaim, an iconic publisher known for releasing some of the most legendary games of the 80s and 90s, said Jarrett. From my early involvement with the publisher's hit 16-bit WWF titles to my experience helping shape the TNA Wrestling series, which spawned the first video game wrestler to become a full-time roster member in the Squared Circle, I've seen firsthand the type of impact great games can have on players and fans. Resurrecting Acclaim is an opportunity to impart the same degree of passion and love to a new generation, and I'm excited to be involved. The newly reformed Acclaim plans to reveal some of their first published games relatively soon, according to the press release we were sent. As someone who worked hard to revive a mostly dead brand in The Escapist into something new and fresh, I can only wish the team at Acclaim the best of luck in their endeavor to bring back a legendary publisher's name from the dead. With the industry being in the shape it is right now, more publishers being around to help cool new games get funded is always good news. And Alex Joseph's previous company, Graffiti Games, did a great job of finding hidden indie gems and giving them a chance in the market. I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on this new version of Acclaim, and hopes that they bring us some great new games to check out. In the meantime, you can get a fun history lesson on the old Acclaim Entertainment from Yahtzee back at The Escapist. That's all for this week on Unpacked. I tried to keep it a little lighter this week considering the last few episodes focused so heavily on the layoffs and closures that continue to impact the industry. While I'm here, just a quick recommendation for a new game that came out this week, Knights in Tight Spaces. If you enjoy a good tactical strategy game with some light deck building mechanics, I have been hooked on this game every evening for the past week. Oh, and it has ragdolls. I like ragdolls.